Hi, if you've been here before, this is the backstory of what's going on with me with mild cognitive impairment, or what I call dementia light. I'm Amy. I'm a 57-year-old PhD epidemiologist who had to retire from my career of 28 years in research and development because my brain decided to quit, walk off the job. Um, this is a hard video for me to do because it's really private, has lots of very private medical information, but in the interest of trying to help others with MCI, to document what's going on for future research, I'm just going to be really open and honest about what is happening with me, about my clinical testing, what my deficits are. I actually am going to be doing a little bit more reading of this instead of just talking directly to the camera as I normally do, because the very nature of my issue is that I can't remember things. So I sent this document, Understanding Amy's Diagnosis, to a lot of friends and family over the last couple of months. And I think it's really the best way to describe what's going on with me. So it might be kind of long, but here it goes. The document is called Understanding Amy's Diagnosis, a guide for family, a note from Amy. I'm sharing this with you because I love you and I want you to understand what's happening to me. It's been really hard to explain in conversation, partly because of the very issues that this document describes, so I've written it down instead. I've been diagnosed with something called mild neurocognitive disorder, or mild cognitive impairment. This document explains what that means, what was found in my testing, what it actually looks like in my real life. And I'm not sharing this to worry you. I'm sharing it because I want you to understand me, and because having people who understand me and what's going on with me matters enormously. And I think it also takes away some of the fear of talking to me, interacting with me. So I hope this helps. Then I wrote, please read this carefully and feel free to read it more than once. Part one, what is mild cognitive impairment, or mild neurocognitive disorder? In November 2025, after 2 rounds of comprehensive neuropsychological testing 2 years apart, I was formally diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. Is this Alzheimer's disease? No. I have had 2 blood tests, specifically that test for the tau protein, which is the key biological marker that is behind the Alzheimer's pathology of dementia. And both of those came back normal, like nothing, 0. I have no detectable tau. This makes Alzheimer's basically not an option for the reasons for my symptoms. So there are lots of other reasons you can have dementia and cognitive impairment. Spoiler alert, something that's not in this document, but I've learned since, is it's most likely due to a very severe traumatic brain injury I had in 2006. And those kinds of impairments, or sorry, that kind of injury can come back to haunt you in the form of cognitive decline. And typically, if that's going to happen, it happens around 20 years post TBI. And guess what this is? Literally exactly 20 years. It was 2006 and now it's 2026. All right. So is this dementia? Is the next question. No, mild cognitive impairment is not dementia. However, dementia is the more severe stage of mild cognitive impairment. Dementia is distinguished from MCI by the ability to, or rather the inability to conduct your activities of daily living, or ADLs, things like showering, cooking, finance, driving, making decisions. And so I can totally manage my life. I can still drive, I can still cook. I have to do some compensatory strategies for some of those things, but I can certainly manage my life. So I'm not technically diagnosed with dementia, but I do call it dementia light because it's everything else but my ADLs. And so the word mild in mild cognitive impairment is really a misnomer. It refers to the disease name, not how it feels to live with it, because it's not mild at all. Is this going to get worse? We don't know. Some people with mild cognitive impairment stay stable for years and some progress further. I do know that in the past 6 months, I have definitely progressed further since my diagnosis. So, what I'm trying to do is arrest the decline, slow the decline, and maybe stay like this forever. Um, I have a very clear family history. My maternal grandmother had early onset Alzheimer's, but I do not have Alzheimer's. And then I also have some inflammatory arthritis that could be contributing. And we've tried to fix that. But at any rate, my neurologist is actively managing my care and I'm being evaluated regularly. I'm doing everything I can to stay as healthy as possible. So let's get to the meat of this. What's actually happening? Specific systems in my brain, the ones that handle holding information in my mind for a few seconds, switching between tasks and processing visual and spatial information, aren't working right at all, basically. This is measurable and documented through very thorough, documented, objective neuropsychological testing. It takes about 4 hours. It's a very comprehensive panel. It's not one of those online things you do or just they tell you 3 words at the doctor and if you remember it. But basically, everything else, though, in my brain, my reasoning, my judgment, my language, my personality, my humor, my intelligence are all intact, fully intact, and unaffected at this time. So I wrote in a box, the most important thing to understand, I am still me. My personality, my humor, my love for family, my love for life, my laughing, my intelligence, my reasoning, my judgment are all still intact. And what has changed is a very specific set of brain systems. And those changes are very real, very severe, and make my life genuinely hard. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not anxious. I'm not imagining things. This is just unfortunately documented, objective, clinical decline of my brain. So, what did the test show? In 2023, I had kind of started noticing like, I just don't, something's kind of going on here with my brain. And after I moved to Arizona and decided I was going to stay here, I decided to find a neurologist and see what's going on. So in 2023, of December 2023, I went to a neurologist and tested pretty much average. And then I did the testing again in November of 2025, actually August of 2025. In 2023, my results were basically average or slightly above average. And the conclusion from just the testing on paper is that it was consistent with normal aging. But by 2025, I did the testing again, I think August or something. I went back on November 14th, 2025, a date I will never forget. And I was told that there were measurable, significant changes across multiple areas. And they changed my diagnosis to mild neurocognitive disorder or mild cognitive impairment. My test results. So I have a table here. You probably can't see it. I'll show you what I'm reading though before I read it to you. So the left column is brain function being tested, the middle is the result, and the right is what it means. So the first, attention, simple visual focus. My result is average. I don't have any significant problems focusing on one thing at a time. Here are the things that are severely impaired. Attention, switching between 2 things at once, working memory, holding numbers in mind, wordless memory, immediate recall, and wordless memory after a delay. So here are the remarks. Significant difficulty dividing attention or multitasking, difficulty holding even a few pieces of information in mind for a few seconds, random lists of words do not stick in my memory, information from an unconnected list is just largely lost even after a short time. If you give me stories, story recall, immediate and delayed, that's average. So if you tell me a story and words and things in context, I'm pretty good at remembering it. That's fairly unimpaired. However, my biggest impairments are in visual. So visual memory, immediate visual memory after a delay, visual spatial processing, all are severely impaired. And in fact, I'm in the first percentile on all 3 of those. So remembering what things look like is severely impaired. You've heard me talk about I'm a terrible Where's Waldo player. That's why. Visual information is not retained even after a quick delay, and accurately perceiving where things are in space is severely affected. That's the weirdest one. And I had no idea it was part of dementia, is not knowing where I am in space, where things are in space, even though my eyeballs see it. Word finding, object naming, verbal fluency by category, I'm average. Task switching and set shifting, so impaired as well. So switching between two rules or sequences is significantly difficult for me. But then reasoning, judgment, processing speed are all noted as average and fine. So the thing is, my scores here were tested against what would be expected for someone my age and education, but my baseline IQ is around 153, which is significantly above average. So even though on these tests in 2025, I'm showing severely impaired in almost everything, I'm average in a few things, but even average is a significant decline and change for someone like me. So the important part, what's this actually look like in real life? So let me give you some specific examples. So forgetting things that just happened. If I pause a TV show, walk to the kitchen, 30 seconds away, come back, I usually have no memory whatsoever of what we were watching. Not a vague feeling, not a fuzzy sense. It's just gone, as if I'd never been watching it. So when this happens, I run through a mental process to try to reconstruct that memory. Actually, my very first video of the Watch Me First is a actual literal live replaying or live action of that exactly. So I look at the screen, I ask myself questions about the screen, like, what were we talking about? Do I recognize that actor? And sometimes that works, but most of the time it doesn't. So a lot of the times that happens with conversations. I'm in the middle of a conversation, I just completely forget what we were talking about. I now just say to my friends, like, could you remind me? I've completely forgotten what we were talking about, even though I'm quite literally mid-sentence. It's so distressing and weird. And things like tasks I'm in the middle of, if I walk into a room. So, you know, the classic, you walk into a room, forgot what you went to get. That's me every single time. But my biggest problems are really around the visual spatial difficulties, and I had no idea how much how impactful that is to my life, and that this is part of dementia. So my visual and spatial processing skills are my most severely affected areas. I'm at the absolute lowest. You can't get worse than the first percentile. And by the way, I did a online very extensive test recently as well, and I still came in at first percentile of my visual memory. So basically what that means is that my brain can't accurately compute where things are in physical space. Nothing wrong with my eyesight, it's the processing. So I drop things a lot. A cup I'm holding, my phone, oh my God, I drop my phone more than you can imagine. In fact, I don't have it here. I got a lanyard. I wear it around my neck. Because when I reach, my hand reaches slightly off from where the object actually is. So I break a lot of stuff. And I have a lot of difficulty parking my car. I can drive okay now, still, and I won't hesitate to give up my license if I am impaired. I'm not going to be one of those people that you have to take the keys away from me, kicking and screaming. I'll be giving that up way before I probably even need to, because I want to be safe. But I have a lot of trouble parking because I use the cameras, but I can't figure out where the lines are. So I get out, my car is parked really crooked, even though I think I parked correctly. And so all of this is not clumsiness. Like, I run into stuff all the time. I'm covered in bruises all the time. So it's not really clumsiness in the traditional sense. It's that my brain is receiving spatial information, but it's not processing it correctly. Multitasking and task switching. My ability to switch between two things simultaneously is significantly impacted. So I cannot follow conversation well while I'm doing something else that requires any of my attention. If I'm interrupted in a task, I will completely lose track of what I was doing. Following instructions with multiple steps, like cooking, is really hard, especially if I have to remember them at the same time as I'm doing them. And tasks that require me to keep two different sets of rules in mind at once are really difficult for me as well. So the memory that works versus the memory that doesn't. One of the most important things to understand is that not all memory works the same way. There's a meaningful difference in how I perform depending on the type of information. So random, unconnected information, like a list of items, a name, a phone number, a verbal instruction, doesn't stick. This is severely impaired. Meaningful, contextual information, like a story, an explanation that makes sense, or something I can connect to something I already understand and know, I retain much better. And this is why written information reaches me much better than verbal. That's why I keep my day book with everything written down. And when you tell me something, I need you to tell me in context. Just don't say, remember the letter Q. I won't. So you can say something like, remember the letter Q for quiet because I have a headache. Now I'll remember the letter Q. But if you just tell me the letter Q, 2 minutes later, I won't remember that. So how am I managing? My day book, which I've talked about before. I carry a small spiral notebook around with me everywhere, from room to room in the house, sitting right outside with me. It's in my purse every time I leave. I write down everything: appointments, tasks, errands, thoughts, things I want to remember, observations about my day. On the left side, I put just kind of general notes. The right side is my actual to-do list with check boxes, and I call it my external brain. It's quite literally my working memory. It's not optional. It's actually like a medical necessity for me. Breaking tasks into small steps. So I can't hold complex tasks in my mind all at once. So I break everything into really small steps, do one step at a time, write it down. And so, for example, most prominent thing I've just noticed is cooking. So I used to be able to just watch an Instagram, and then, I have 7 or 8 ingredients, pull them all out of the fridge, get them all ready, cook, whatever. I can't do that now. I have to get it all out. Usually I print it. I will get everything out, chop it up, put everything in the bowls, and then put it in order with a little pause, like cook this first. So basically, every step requires no memory now, just execution. So what helps me the most? If you're dealing with me, written instructions. Don't tell me. Please write it if you need me to remember or do something. Give me information with context and an explanation, not just a list. Please be patient when I have to ask you the same question more than once. I promise you I am not being deliberately obtuse. I just don't remember. Don't put me in a situation where I have to multitask or rapidly switch between topics. And then understanding that if I make an error, or I make a lot of errors, or things like dropping things, please know I'm trying so hard, but it's neurological. This is not carelessness. This is not something I can fix. This is just my brain. So, a final note. I'm sharing all of this because I want to be known and understood by the people I love. And it's hard to talk about. It's very vulnerable, very scary, but I'm still here. I'm in the building. I'm fully thinking. I'm fully feeling. I am still me. I am doing everything I can to manage this. And I don't want worry or pity. I want understanding. I want people to continue to engage with me. So if something seems off, or if I lose track of something, it's not you, it's me. So just repeat it, write it down, and just know why. And please know, this is the most important thing. Underneath the surface, I'm working so hard. So imagine a duck like floating along the surface of a pond, right? It looks perfectly great, easy, but they're flapping like crazy under the surface with their legs. That's what I'm doing. I'm like working so hard all the fucking time, trying to maintain my duck floating along the water, but I have to kick like hell with my legs, and I'm flying my plane manually. So thanks for reading this. Thanks for listening to this. I hope this helps.